Hidden deep in a German forest lies a vanished palace of Nazi excess, where stolen art, political power, and personal obsession collided, and the shadows of history still linger. Hidden Forest, 60 kilometers northeast of Berlin. Deep within the Schauheide forest lies a place that has largely escaped memory and maps. This forested expanse, once a hunting ground for Prussian royalty, hides the remnants of Carinhall, the private estate of Hermann Göring, the notorious Nazi marshal. Today, visitors passing through the forest might never realize the history beneath their feet. No signs, no markers, no tourist paths indicate the presence of what was once one of Europe's most extravagant private estates. For decades, treasure hunters, historians, and extremists have scoured the dense undergrowth, searching for clues of its past. Each seeks something different: artifacts, documents, or the lure of legend. But the forest itself seems to resist these intrusions. Carinhall's story begins not with ruins, but with ambition. In 1933, Göring, recently appointed Prussian Prime Minister and soon commander of the Luftwaffe, acquired a tract of land that would serve as the foundation of his obsession. He envisioned a personal kingdom, a hunting lodge that would become a sprawling palace. The forests of Schauheide offered privacy and isolation, the perfect canvas for his vision. Yet even at the start, the estate was more than a residence. It was a monument to power, vanity, and grief. Göring's first wife, Karin, had died in 1931, and the lodge would become both a memorial to her and a testament to his ability to bend landscapes and politics to his will. Over time, Carinhall would grow from a timber cabin into an elaborate complex that combined Swedish architectural style with Prussian grandeur, sitting between two lakes whose placid surfaces mirrored the ambition that drove its creation. Göring's obsession. Hermann Göring's fixation on Carinhall went beyond the ordinary desire for a luxurious estate. It was fueled by grief, ego, and a need for recognition. After Karin's death, he went so far as to have her remains exhumed from Sweden in 1934 and reinterred on the estate under ceremonial honors attended by Adolf Hitler himself. A granite mausoleum was built to house her body, with Göring's own resting place planned beside hers. The estate quickly became both home and shrine. Over the next few years, what started as a modest hunting lodge transformed into a sprawling complex with multiple wings, a main building, guest quarters, and formal gardens. Every addition reflected Göring's desire to impress and to immortalize both himself and Karin. By the late 1932, Carinhall had been recognized as an official state residence, approved for government funding to host dignitaries and high-ranking officials. Göring surrounded himself with luxury at every turn. A private cinema, a gymnasium, indoor swimming pools, bathhouses, and even a massive model railway in the attic, spanning hundreds of square meters. The estate became a playground for both power and eccentricity. Exotic pets, including lion cubs, roamed the halls, while his only daughter, Ida, enjoyed a miniature palace built just for her. Visitors were astonished by the estate's extravagance, marveling at the blend of private luxury, memorialization, and political signaling. Every room, every decoration, every architectural detail was designed to reflect Göring's ambition and obsessive attention to detail. Carinhall was no longer just a house. It was the physical embodiment of the man himself. Estate expansion. By 1940, Carinhall had become one of Europe's largest private estates, reflecting the culmination of Göring's vision. The central structure featured the Grand Gallery, a hall measuring over 30 meters in length, which housed one of the most extensive art collections ever assembled. Paintings by Botticelli, Dürer, Velázquez, Monet, and Renoir hung on the walls, alongside hundreds of sculptures and tapestries. Göring acquired these works through an extensive network of agents and looters, many of them stolen from Jewish families across occupied Europe. The scale of acquisition was staggering. By wartime estimates, the collection included over 1,300 paintings, 250 sculptures, and 168 tapestries. Beyond the art, the estate's expansion included guest wings capable of accommodating kings, dictators, and global dignitaries. Hitler himself attended official ceremonies there. The grounds were meticulously landscaped, complete with lakes, gardens, and recreational areas. Additional features like theaters, model railways, and exotic animal enclosures reflected Göring's flair for ostentation. By 1941, Carinhall was both a functional residence and a symbol of prestige, blending political power with personal indulgence. Yet this expansion came with moral cost. The majority of artworks were acquired through coercion, theft, or exploitation. Carinhall's grandeur was inseparable from the machinery of the Nazi state, and the estate became a stage for the regime's wealth, power, and ideological excess. While visitors marveled at its beauty, the hidden story of its creation, plunder, intimidation, and human suffering remained largely invisible behind walls of marble, polished wood, and priceless art. Göring's obsessive attention to scale and spectacle would later contribute to the estate's dramatic destruction and the enduring mysteries surrounding its treasures. Art looting. The scale and scope of Göring's art collection at Carinhall reflect not only personal taste, but also, from 1937 onward, his agents scoured of occupied Europe, seizing paintings, sculptures, tapestries, and artifacts from museums and private collections. Parisian institutions, Jewish families, and dealers were targeted, with forced sales or outright confiscations, providing Göring with an endless supply of treasures. His primary agent, Walter Andreas Hofer, meticulously documented and transported works to the estate. Each acquisition was catalogued by hand, detailing artist, origin, and provenance. The Grand Gallery alone displayed masterpieces worth billions today, highlighting both Göring's obsession and the regime's capacity for organized theft. Paintings by Botticelli, Dürer, Van Gogh, Monet, and Renoir were just the tip of the iceberg. Beyond Europe, Göring's reach extended through networks in Italy, Greece, and the Netherlands, collecting objects ranging from Roman pottery to ancient artifacts. The systematic plundering blurred the line between personal ambition and state-sponsored crime. The collection became both a personal obsession and a status symbol, showcasing wealth, taste, and power. Its existence reflected Göring's need to assert dominance culturally and politically, intertwining aesthetic admiration with moral corruption. Every object carried a story of displacement, trauma, and loss. The art at Carinhall was more than decoration. It was a testament to how human ambition and institutional power could exploit culture on an unprecedented scale. Elite visitors. Carinhall was not just a private residence. It became a focal point for global elites and a stage for political theater. State officials, royalty, military leaders, and high-profile celebrities all visited to witness Hermann Göring's wealth, influence, and taste firsthand. Former American President Herbert Hoover toured the estate, as did the Duke and Duchess of Windsor. Aviator Charles Lindbergh, Italian dictator Benito Mussolini, and the Japanese Foreign Minister Matsukata also attended. Beyond prominent figures, ministers, kings, diplomats, and innovators visited to discuss aviation, politics, and strategy, often marveling at the sheer opulence of the estate. The grandeur of the estate was not merely decorative, it served as a tool of persuasion and influence. Every diplomatic encounter was carefully staged within Carinhall's lavish interiors. The Grand Gallery, a 3-4-meter-long hall filled with paintings, sculptures, and tapestries, many of which had been looted from occupied territories, was designed to impress visitors, concealing the darker origins of the collection. Social events, birthdays, ceremonies, banquets were not only personal indulgences, but also public displays of authority, meticulously orchestrated to demonstrate power, wealth, and prestige. Göring's daughter, Ida, became a symbol of the family's prominence, her milestones attended by Hitler himself and broadcast in national media, cementing Carinhall's reputation as a nexus of both familial indulgence and political spectacle. Over time, the estate's dual role became clear: a private retreat for Göring and his family, yet simultaneously a strategic instrument for consolidating influence, projecting cultural superiority, and reinforcing his centrality within the Nazi regime. Every visitor left with a sense of awe, but beneath the surface, the estate's extravagance masked the ambition, obsession, and moral compromise that had fueled its creation. Carinhall was at once a home, a museum, and a symbol, blurring the lines between private life and public power, spectacle and propaganda. Destruction 1945. By April 1945, the Third Reich was collapsing, and Hermann Göring faced inevitable defeat. Soviet forces advanced from the east, while American and British troops pressed in from the west. Göring, increasingly isolated and addicted to morphine, knew Carinhall would soon be captured. Determined to retain control even in defeat, he ordered its destruction. Over 80 bombs were placed by loyal Luftwaffe soldiers throughout the estate. On the 28th of April 1945, the explosions tore through the Grand Gallery, guest wings, bathhouses, theaters, and the miniature palace built for his daughter, Ida. 12 years of construction were obliterated in mere hours. Only the monumental entrance gates, the mausoleum containing Karin's remains, and scattered foundations survived. The demolition was both strategic and symbolic, meant to prevent Allied capture of treasures and erase a personal monument to Göring's vanity and obsession. Underground bunkers and shelters survived, hidden beneath rubble. Following the destruction, Göring fled south to Berlin, abandoning the estate and most of his art collection. Carinhall's ruins, swallowed by the Schorheide forest, became part of the Soviet occupation zone and vanished from public view for decades. Its obliteration stands as a stark testament to Göring's desperation and obsession. Nature slowly reclaimed the land, concealing remnants while preserving the estate's haunting legacy. Even in ruins, Carinhall symbolized the fleeting power, vanity, and hubris of one of history's most notorious figures. Art recovery. After World War II, Allied forces uncovered much of Hermann Göring's evacuated art collection hidden deep in Austria, most notably in the Altossi salt mines. Anticipating Allied capture, Göring had ordered the destruction of the treasures, but local miners, many of whom had worked in the mines for generations, secretly defied these instructions. They removed explosives and concealed the artworks, preserving thousands of paintings, sculptures, tapestries, and other artifacts from annihilation. Over 6,500 paintings were recovered, including masterpieces by Rembrandt, Vermeer, Rubens, and Michelangelo, alongside hundreds of sculptures and prints. The U.S. Monuments, Fine Arts, and Archives program meticulously catalogued the collection, transporting it to Munich for processing and eventual restitution. Despite these efforts, hundreds of pieces remained unaccounted for, lost to private collections, illegal trades, or destruction during the war. Some of Göring's looted artworks resurfaced in museums and private collections decades later, prompting complex restitution claims by heirs of Jewish families whose property had been seized. The recovery of Carinhall's treasures exemplifies the chaotic aftermath of war, where criminal ambition, human courage, and moral responsibility intersect. It also highlights the resilience of individuals who risked their safety to preserve cultural heritage. Even today, the legacy of Göring's art looting continues to spark legal, ethical, and historical debates, and justice can coexist in a world still haunted by the actions of a single, powerful man. Family legacies. In the decades following World War II, Hermann Göring's descendants charted profoundly different courses, shaped by the weight of their family legacy. His only daughter, Ida, remained steadfast in her loyalty, defending her father's memory, even as historical evidence and public records documented his crimes and complicity in the Nazi regime. She led a relatively quiet life, studying law and working in medical and technical fields, while also participating in social circles where the past was discussed openly, sometimes alongside former members of the Third Reich. Ida consistently framed her father as a loving parent, emphasizing personal devotion over the broader moral and political consequences of his actions. In stark contrast, born after the war and raised outside the immediate shadow of the Nazi hierarchy, she relocated to the United States and eventually New Mexico, seeking distance from the legacy of infamy. Fully aware of the stigma attached to her surname, she made the radical personal decision to undergo sterilization, ensuring that no descendants would inherit the Göring line or its historical burdens. These divergent responses illustrate the complex psychological and moral negotiations faced by families tied to notorious historical figures. While some descendants embrace or rationalize the past, others reject it entirely, shaping their identity around moral responsibility and conscious disengagement. The contrast between Ida's protective reverence and Bettina's decisive repudiation underscores the enduring impact of inherited history. The weight of social judgment